think the peak of the debts was almost 35 to 40 lakhs. Loans are like Chakravyuh. It's easy to get in, but difficult to come out.
Salary is also a Chakravyuh only.
I had an Excel sheet to see which credit card I have to pay on which date, which EMI I have to make sure I have that balance. You don't want to be on a fat fire because fat fire is like Vijay Mallya. Be on a fire which is balanced, which is barista fire basically.
Let's talk about your fire target.
I think the journey of mine has been from a small village in the North Karnataka, close to Hubli town. My father had a really hard times initial days because growing up 3 kids, I have 2 elder sisters. So getting them married and we had to take loans, hand loans to fund their marriages, and then we had a challenge to go to college because of lack of money. This was the period where I felt the value of the money. I think after graduation, I came to the nearest metro city, like most of us do, come to the nearest big cities. So from Hubli I came to Bangalore. And this was way back in 2006. I took a hand loan at that time, I would say, from my uncle, 500 rupees. It was a big money for me because to take bus pass, daily bus pass, and sometimes I never had lunch boxes I couldn't afford. Then sometimes in the noon I used to feel hungry. I used to have a drink tea, cutting tea, 5 rupees. So that used to be the journey. I gave interviews in call centers. They said, you can't speak well. I was in the last leg, just left with some 100 rupees or so. I don't know whether I'll get a job. I was thinking go back hometown, then do some day job or something. I was like hoping something will happen. So they said, okay, there is an opening in Deutsche Bank. I said, Ditch Bank, what's that? I never knew what was that. Then I gave the interviews and got my first job. I was quite delighted. And then my first salary at the time was 9,000. I never seen such a big number. And then I was glad that, at least I could pay my uncle the money with that salary at least. That was my thought process.
And
then
what was the role back then?
joined as a process executive. Then after 3 years, I felt, okay, let me try a new job in a different city. My salary, basically, it got doubled after the jump. I was like, wow, I never seen.
Could you tell us how much was it?
It was, I left the job in Deutsche Bank around 13,000. And then I got almost 28,000 salary in one of the companies called Nest Technologies. And I was there for a short stint. Still then I had difficulty in terms of really getting so much money to pay for my additional studies, right? I can't really quit job because I had loans to clear up for my dad because he had taken it for my
So even
sisters.
at that point, you were not able to, despite growth in your salary and roles, you were still in debt at that point of time.
Yes,
Okay.
because I had to clear loans for my father, which he had taken earlier, and our house was at stake to clear that loan, mortgaged, and I had to clear that. I was doing that also. Lifestyle of metro cities is quite different from a smaller towns, and it's easy to you get caught in that wearing Louis Philippe. Van Heusen at that time, it was very expensive for me too. It was like half the salary buying those stuff. I remember my first loan was a bike loan, and bike loan was almost taking away 3,000 rupees from my 9,000 rupees salary. I was paying 3,000 rupees rent and 3,000 for food. Then there was no money to give back to home. So then I used to use that credit cards to swipe for other expenses and wearing some branded clothing and apparels.
Up till this point, what was the peak of debt for you? How much debt were you in, and which year was this?
I think the peak of the debts was, I think, 2011 to 12. It went up to almost 35 to 40 lakhs. Cumulatively, I'm telling you. After that, during that period, I joined SAP Ariba. Again, my salary from around 30,000, it became 60,000 rupees. Then times passed. 2012, I got married. I didn't have money at that time. So marriage was there in my mind. So I took again a hand loan, personal loan to get married. So I said, let's get married first, then we think about how to clear the loans later. And then I moved to Chennai at the time. I joined Barclays and I joined them as AVP with a almost salary I was earning almost 60, 70,000. It became almost a lakh for me in joining Barclays.
I'm assuming up till Barclay, you were still paying or clearing debt. Now you're married and you've started to feel bit of responsibility. Tell me from this point on, how did the income grew? How did your finances change from this point on?
Like earlier, I used to keep parked in savings account. Now slowly I felt, why don't I invest in some different products or kind of real estate or something? So that's where I started doing fixed deposits, mutual funds, 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees. It started from 2013. What I did slowly with these investments, I started clearing my personal loans. After marriage, I was in an environment where they were more conservative in terms of spending. My expenses at that time was almost 30%. I started to realize that you need minimalism some point of time. Then EMIs were almost 35% somewhere, and 30%, 30-40% I started savings. So fortunately, in banks, when you perform good, you get good bonuses compared to the hikes. So I wanted to leverage those bonuses. So that bonuses I started pay clearing my dues. When I left Barclays, my salary was almost coming to 1.3, 1.4. And then when I moved to the next job, it became almost 1.8. I think till the period of 2015, almost my debts went down by 60, 70%. I cleared mostly the credit cards first because they were too
At the
much
higher interest rates.
higher interest rates, and the CIBIL scores get really bad with credit cards. Probably to add on some point of time, I had Excel sheet to see which credit card I have to pay on which date, which EMI I have to make sure I have that balance, because if you miss the check, you have to pay charges
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
So I had to do a lot of math calculations in my Excel. Those used to be the days before my marriage, where I used to have Excel only for expenses. Now I manage my Excel only to manage my investments. So after that, in 2016 onwards, I started investing in fixed deposits. These days, you don't know how long company will keep you. So I felt somewhere I need to make that passive income so that my monthly regular expenses are taken care. If still I'm left over, I would reinvest in mutual funds or something. I think 2020, I remember that Diwali time. That was a real Diwali for me, where I was zero debt, and that year was also touched 35 years at the time. And I felt, okay, I accomplished something today.
How much passive income do you earn per month today? And could you give us a breakup of it across assets?
Almost 90,000 to a lakh I make passive income, of which I would say 70% is straight from the FDs. Then I have some debentures, corporate debentures, coupon payout of monthly. Again, I'm very strict on most monthly payout. So from that, I get almost 15%. Then I get some dividends on my MFs, which I've invested, which are more dividends oriented. So I cash out those dividends. So cumulatively, this makes almost 90,000 to a lakh, where you could say 70% to, in a nutshell, 70% is FD, 15-20% is in debentures, 5 to 10% is in your form and shapes of savings account interest rates, and then some of these dividends
Things
which I get.
which basically your liquid
Liquid dividends.
assets.
Yeah.
Could you talk a bit about that? Help us visualize what are you using every day or monthly to be on track.
So I have a list of my regular expenses. Do I spend on Netflix, watching? Then do I spend on in my monthly expenses? What is the due date? And also I look into the things which are futuristic, right? For example, I have PF now, which is going to come. That's also income which I'm going to come after some time. So I try to account all my, it's like a personal balance sheet. Now I maintain which FD is getting expired on which date, so that I'm aware, I be prepared to immediately diverse that into a different product at that particular time.
So let's come to present now. Having a bit of a roller coaster of a journey for you, coming from 35 lakh of debt to zero debt in 2020. At present, what is your current corpus and how have you allocated it across different asset class,
Almost corpus now is around 2.5 cr on an average, because some
including
fluctuations,
real estate?
including real estate. So real estate is around 30 to 40% in that. 40% I would say straightforward on fixed deposits. So remaining 30% I left it, 20% I do in mutual funds and other nifty funds, index funds. So that way 20% is taken care. Remaining 10% in DG Gold.
Tell us about your real estate investment. What's the current value of your real estate investments?
So I invested in a open plot in a smaller amount, and that was at the time was a 1 lakh when I invested in 2013. That land now literally cost me at least 20 lakhs if I sell it today in the market price. And I constructed a small house, like a farmhouse, you could say. Then again, I did this construction not taking a housing loan because I was earning less. I had debts, so I had a deal with my engineer saying that I'll give you monthly small amounts. You based on that only you construct. I don't want to take a housing loan again, fall into a trap. So he agreed on that. I took 3 to 4 years to construct a small 900 square feet. It would be around 50 lakhs around what I invested that time and now. And there was another opportunity. I want to talk about the real estate in 2020 around COVID, when COVID came into picture. They wanted full cash. I said full cash I don't want to give because I want to leverage on the housing loan
Yeah.
and tax benefits. So at least 70 to 80% because of my savings I could do immediate payment to them, and remaining I took
Housing loan.
housing loan for.
And what would be the present value of that property?
At that time I bought it for around 60 lakhs, and now it's around 90 lakhs around. It's hovering around 90 lakhs.
Have you insured yourself for anything?
Absolutely no. I mean, I bring another perspective. I literally struggled to get some of my reimbursement claims in spite of having a corporate coverage. When you have invested the money, you have all the rights to get that money. But today, it's not that the process. So I felt rather than paying EMIs, sorry, the insurance premiums, I rather invest in instruments whenever I feel I can use it for that purpose. So obviously, that's where I park on the liquid side of the things, because whenever there's a need, I could leverage this fixed deposits or something. Can
So there is a buffer in case it's sort of like a buffer for any
absolutely
unplanned planned events and emergencies.
exactly.
I think because my family has had a very different experience in this regard, and to me, I think there have been tremendous benefits. Firstly, like I've always made sure that I go to a cashless hospital, so there are no reimbursements or etc. Anything which is to be settled is settled there
Yes.
and then, right? My family members have been hospitalized enough number of times that we have now figured the
Understand.
process out and the hassle out, and again it's cumbersome every time, while you have a way for tackling any health emergency because you have kept a part of
Purpose.
your corpus
Yeah,
for that.
absolutely.
But I think health insurance, in my opinion, is still a good product, right? And I think again, people can take your view, people can take my view, but I think it's important to have all the information before you make a decision. Let's talk about tax saving. Is there anything specifically that you do to save on taxes?
I realized my salary is in the same tax slab, and also investments I've made is in the same PAN card. This was not helping me, and I felt I should think something else. How do I work around? So that's where strategically I started moving, parking my investments into my parents' name or my wife's name and my child's name, rather than
Or in
including
a lower income slab
lower,
then?
right? Because they are in the lower income slab. That's the advantage. Second piece, I came to know about HUF, Hindu Undivided Family, where you have to have minimum two members, two family. One of my chartered accountant friend said this should be something you should try out, and I tried out. It doesn't cost you so much, and I park all my investments in my HUF. There is no, you are doing everything legally here as per the laws.
And for our viewers, could you tell us what's the advantage of keeping your investments in the HUF?
If you're a salaried person and you're doing a job, because what happens, you pour all your money into one PAN card. So what happens, your tax slab automatically starts increasing. If you have already, for example, a yearly salary of 10 lakhs on an average, and you have investment somewhere of 5 lakhs, and the interest and everything is coming and sitting on it, obviously your tax slab increase. But in HUF, it will be starting from the scratch. So obviously you are in a lesser tax slab in
So
that,
you're moving your investment to
into the
and
HUF account,
incomes from your investment to a
into
lower tax
tax slab,
slab through an HUF.
HUF.
I want to talk to you about the fire movement. When exactly did you come to know about it?
I think formally I didn't know about fire for I think probably a year back. I was looking out for something which takes away the pressure of, I need some monthly money which could take care of my family and myself. I don't want to be again loans, debts. It's like I could call it as a chakraview. Loans are like chakraview. It's easy to get in but difficult to come out.
Yeah.
So once I went inside, it took years and it took a lot of
And
patience.
salary is also a chakra view only.
There are different types of fire, I realized. Like you have normal fire, lean fire, fat fire, and then you have barista fire.
Barista fire.
Yeah, this is something I read it. I really like the barista. The best part about this is you don't want to be on a fat fire, because that fat fire is like Vijay Mallya. You can have a luxurious life going overseas.
More of a maximalist.
Maximum, absolutely. So that's where I felt, be on a fire which is balanced, which is barista fire basically. You have at least 20 to 25x of your savings of whatever expense you have in a year, and plus do whatever you like to do to be engaged. It could be a kind of a free consulting, freelancing.
That's where the barista part
Absolutely,
comes. Right?
barista
Be
part
on a
comes.
low pressure job, low income,
Absolutely.
low pressure job, but
Absolutely.
you enjoy doing that job.
Enjoy
every day.
whatever you do.
Let's talk about your fire target. What are you gunning for?
I mean, following minimalism. So from that perspective, I feel I'm now at around 2.5 CR. Probably another additional of 50 lakhs should be good enough for me from a long-term perspective.
What current expense are you accounting for to calculate your fire number?
Expenses like grocery, school fees, and your maintenance, telephone, and other things. I think
Utilities.
utilities and everything. It comes to maintenance and everything. Comes to max 40,000 around on an average. Probably additional 10-20,000 might go up, but otherwise on an average with regular expenses, 40k.
50k.
40-50k you can say that's my expense today.
Keeping your expenses below 40 to 50k in a metro, very challenging. How did you develop a frugal lifestyle like this?
The discipline is the critical element here. Do you want to go to supermarkets in a rush, or you be disciplined and go to a mandi, sabji mandi in your area where they sell for lesser price? Because we are in a rush, we don't have discipline. It all topples up there only because you sleep late, you binge eat, you binge watch, then you get up late, no time, then suddenly you order Swiggy or whatever. So it all has a cumulative effect on everything. Because most of our generation, middle class family, right, we have lived a life where they were frugal in their life. But now current lifestyle has changed. That doesn't mean that now I shouldn't live like this or that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Just see what is relevant for you rather than impressing others. You feel it is good for you, you do it, but don't ever do it that you want to really impress someone. If you can follow this principle, I think most of your expenses will drastically come down.
How has your relationship changed with money over the years?
I never seen so much money. I felt like I should buy everything, whatever I see, buy this, buy that. I never felt like I should constrain myself doing, because it's like you were so thirsty, you never got a water, and you suddenly realize you have ample water around you. You just try to drink as much possible. I was doing that. And as you age and as you mature, you feel happiness is not in keeping things, looking at those, and you feel whatever you have, you feel satisfied with it. So that's where my time, my investment started changing.
Coming to the last question of interview, what would be a single piece of advice you would like to give to others?
A lot of people give free advices, and sometimes free advices are easy to listen but difficult to implement, because everyone will tell you different things at different aspects, different stages of life. So I would say that invest on your health and peace, and manage your time well, and automatically the wealth will be taken care along with it. Last point which I would like to make is that you would be a most millionaire on this earth, you might be billionaire, but if you're not able to have a 8-hour proper sleep, not able to have a peaceful 2 meals in a day, peacefully 2 meals or 3 meals, then no use of you really making that money today.
Wonderful advice. Raman, thank you for your time.
Thank you for watching and supporting our channel. If you like the stories we tell, here's your chance to be a part of it. If you or anybody you know has an interesting financial journey to share, then please fill the form in the pinned comment below and we'll get in touch with you.